first thing we need to make is the actual chocolate sponge cake. So for that, we're going to need a good splash of vanilla, 60 grams of sugar with a good pinch of salt, 2 room temperature eggs, 50 grams of flour, 1 shot of espresso, 12 grams of cocoa powder and of cornstarch, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So as always with the sponge cake, we're going to start by whisking together our vanilla, sugar, salt, and eggs. This time we're going to add our espresso to that as well. And while that's getting super light and fluffy, we can sift together all of our dry ingredients. Now before I forget, I'm also going to preheat my oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit. So my eggs are super fluffy and they've doubled or even tripled in size, and I did the finger test to see if I could feel any sugar in between my fingers. I couldn't, so I know my eggs are ready to go. Now all we have to do is fold in our dry ingredients. So I like sieving it over my egg mixture one more time, and I like doing this in 2 parts. So I'll do half of my flour mixture first, fold that in, and then do the other half. I just poured it into my pre-lined baking tray that's 22 centimeters in diameter. Now this just needs to bake for around 15 minutes or until you can put a toothpick into the center and it comes out clean. Now recently I've been liking a Greek yogurt and cream filling for my cakes because it's a little bit lighter and it's not as thick and creamy as a buttercream. So I'm going to do that for this cake as well. So for that you're going to need a good splash of vanilla, 300 milliliters of heavy cream, 400 grams of Greek yogurt or any yogurt really works, 9 grams or 1 package of ground gelatin, just under or around 200 grams of fresh raspberries, 20 grams of powdered sugar, and I also have 25 grams of ground chocolate. Now as always with these fillings, we're going to go ahead and whip up our cream to stiff peaks, and in the meantime we can let our gelatin bloom and mix the powdered sugar with the Greek yogurt and the vanilla. Now for the gelatin, you just want to add a splash of water to the ground gelatin and mix that up until it's combined, and then you want to let that sit for 10 minutes for it to bloom. Now that the gelatin has completely thickened up like this, we're going to go ahead and heat it up on medium heat on our stove just until it's become a liquid again. Now you also want to make sure that your gelatin does not boil. If it boils, it's not going to thicken up your cream. So you just want to heat it up on medium or low heat even, just until it's a liquid. So this does go really fast. I think it only took like 30 seconds for it to become a liquid again. So at this point we have to temper it before we add it to our Greek yogurt mixture. So to temper it, we're basically going to add a couple dollops of our Greek yogurt mixture and whisk it into our gelatin to cool the gelatin down. And we're going to do that a couple of times before adding it all back into our Greek yogurt mixture. At this point, we can carefully fold in our whipped cream and then our raspberries and our chopped chocolate. Now at this point we can also go ahead and layer our cake. So I cut my sponge cake in half, so I have 2 layers. So I'm going to start by adding 1 layer into my cake ring, adding half of the cream and then repeating the process. Now sometimes it also helps to add a tiny dollop of your cream just at the bottom of your cake platter. That'll help the cake not move around and shimmy around. Now our cake can wander into the fridge while we prepare our red glaze. Now for the red glaze, I'm going to be using a red glaze package. So according to this, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of sugar and 250 milliliters of water. Now if you don't have a red glaze package like this, you could just as easily make your own by using 250 milliliters of fruit juice. If it's red, you're obviously going to get that red color, which is kind of what we want. And then you're going to want to add 1 to 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to your fruit juice, as well as 1 to 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of sugar, depending on the sweetness of your juice. And then you're going to do exactly what we're going to do now. So all we have to do is add these 3 things into a little pot, bring it up to a boil until it's nice and thick. Then we're going to let that cool off just ever so slightly and then pour it over the top of our cake. Our glaze has cooled off just a little bit. It's still pretty warm, which means it's still a nice liquid. So now we can carefully pour it over the top of our cake. Now our cake can go back into the fridge for at least 4 hours to let the gelatin set, but ideally overnight. I just decorated the cake with some whipped cream and some grated chocolate, and that's everything for today's video. As always, the whole recipe is in the description down below, and if you have any other cake recommendations you'd like to see me make or attempt to make, do let me know as well.